Monroeville's been able to score. As Ringler takes off down the left side, he's got some space. Still on his feet, could go all the way, the 50, the 40, Ringler with the heroics, 20, 10, touchdown Cougars, Ringler on the kickoff.
More of the Friday Night Pigskin presented by Knox Community Hospital. I am Brian Skoronsky. It has been a wild and wacky night on the high school gridiron all over the area. Even here inside of the studio, we had a couple of things going against us. But we got a little motto here at the OH Report that keeps us going. And what is that, Mr. Bunchley?
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Never back down, never what?
Never gonna give you up.
What? Never give up. So here we are. We got the show and all the action coming your way. And conferences, all the races pretty much are in the loop now, where we had some big games tonight. A couple of undefeateds went toe-to-toe, and we had a huge one over at Scott Bailey Memorial Field, which was a part of that call of the night. So for more on that one, let's go ahead and just throw it right over to the pig pen. I know my boys, they're riled up. They're ready for action. Take it away.
Yes, sir. The more I hear my voice through a TV speaker, the more I hate it. So I don't know how everybody listens to it, but we had a good one tonight, Garrett. I think that was, I feel like I say this every week, but I think it was a lot closer than the score led on to be to open up Fireland's conference scoring.
Yeah, so Monroeville needed 4 quarters to knock off the Crestview Cougars down there at Scott Bailey Memorial Field. Monroeville hasn't knocked off the Cougars since I was a senior in high school, so it's been a couple seasons since Monroeville has been able to do that. The Cougars have outscored them 126-20 the last 4 seasons. So let's take a look at the highlights and see if Monroeville was able to go down to Scott Bailey and get a big W.
Well, Monroeville headed to Cougar country, and Evan Benford would have his claws all over this one, and this first drive would be a 7-0 start for them.
Cougars responded with a touchdown on their first drive. This one, Rammer, he punches in, but no PAT. Storm will go at 7-6.
Then bowling, what? To put the Cougars up 14-7 on a converted 2-point conversion.
And Storm Monroeville wouldn't give up yet, as Benford was unreal tonight, as he would take another touchdown. It's 14 apiece.
They would score again, but this time through the air, as Benford would unload it to one of his weapons for 6. Eagles 21-14.
And here was the call of the night, Storm. You talked about it. Tyson Ringler would have to put on his cape here. This return was special, somehow finding the right alleyway to get Ghost, as Ringler would ignite the Scott Bailey Memorial crowd and give the Cougars an opportunity to get right back into the game.
Not captured on our cameras, Eagles would knock in a field goal to make it 24-20. Then the Cougars would strike out of the half, 26-24.
Had us a bit of a surprise, Storm. Didn't know the Cougars were going to give this big of a fight, but Benford with another scamper, Storm. He notched another touchdown. He also gets a 2-point conversion. It's 32-26 Eagles.
Landon Rader up next would give the Eagles another touchdown in PAT. They would begin to pull away, 39-26.
And Liam Kuhn, Storm, would find the pylon here. He's scratching and clawing, trying to get the Cougars back into this game. They get the PAT. It's 39-34.
Benford once again, man, absolutely putting the backpack on as he would carry the Eagles to a big Firelands Conference win, 46-34. Garrett, it kind of seemed like Monroeville was running the same offensive play every time in Crestview. They could just not figure it out.
I've never seen a Crestview defense, Storm, struggle as bad as they did tonight the past couple seasons. And I know they've been so dominant, but even in the games that they weren't so dominant, they had absolutely no answer for the Monroeville Eagle offense tonight. And so far throughout the seasons, really nobody has. Calvert was their lone loss, and that was in double overtime when Monroeville went for 2 and didn't get it, 35-34. So Monroeville Eagles, they're looking pretty tough right now. They started the conference play 1-0, and they beat a good tough Crestview team, especially on the road too. Crestview's got a lot of holes on that defense, Storm. Obviously, the Firelands Conference, St. Paul's a little down this year, but you still got Monroeville and then Western Reserve too. So not a down Firelands Conference, but not as good as it once was.
So Monroeville 0-10 last season. I mean, that in itself is crazy. But to bounce back this year and start off, 3-1 if I'm not mistaken? I mean, that's absolutely absurd. What do you see? Is it really the Benford hype? Like, is he really backpacking the team, or are there some other guys who you think both offensively and defensively have stepped up for Monroeville?
Well, Strom, I think a lot of credit goes to Evan Benford. I mean, he had, I believe, 5 total touchdowns, 4 on the ground and 1 through the air. So I think he's going to be our phenom of the week there for that game. But I mean, I believe reading the stat, he had 6 touchdowns before this game. He just got 5 more, so he's up to 11 touchdowns in Monroeville's season. I think he's definitely going to be the one that I think I throw my hat in the ring for and vote for, that he's the reason Monroeville started so well. But Crestview's offense, they look pretty good tonight too, and I think Monroeville's defense, if they don't get that fixed, they could have some problems taking on some tougher offenses, because Crestview's offense isn't that great either. But I think they have some holes on the defense, Monroeville does, but that offensive QB, Evan Benford, was absolutely special tonight. He's the best player I've seen so far this season.
Definitely. Video game. I mean, he's like when you put the sliders all the way up to 99 and when you're playing your younger brother on Madden. So, well, my last question for you here, Garrett, is where do the Cougars go from here? I mean, this is one of the worst starts they've had in a long time. This is a program that is not used to losing, especially in this fashion. We watched their lone win to East Knox. Where do we go from here in the Firelands Conference?
Well, Storm, this is the worst start that they've had since I was on the team. So, Cougars 1-3 start. Not ideal, but I think they have a lot of building blocks. The offense tonight, I mean, they look phenomenal. They were keeping toe with Monroeville the entire game. Just a couple plays that didn't go their way. I think Crestview has some room to grow, but they also take on a tough Lucas team at home, so it's going to be the battle storm of Crestview versus Lucas, and it's going to be an exciting matchup.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch, that's for sure, but I think that's all we have. I'm going to step on my soapbox for 1 second. The Lions are 1-0 in the National Football League. We're going to throw it back over to Brian, and I think we have some theatrics to plan over here, so.
Yeah, no question, boys. We're going to have you become some thespians here in just a moment. But it looks like we're going to have kind of a new king in the Firelands Conference. The Cougars been running things ever since G-Man got out of there, and they got some real talent influx come in. 3 straight Firelands Conference crowns, so could it be Monroeville this year that's competing to be the top dog? It's going to be exciting to see as the season continues to play out. All right, we had a big game in the KMAC tonight between Loudonville, the newcomer, and then Mount Gilead. Both teams trying to get off to a 1-0 start in the league. Travis Berardi was out in Redbird territory, taking this all in tonight, Trav. And this was kind of a wacky game in more ways than just one. It was a crazy game on the football field, a big start by the Redbirds, and then things really got loony in the second half.
Yeah, I don't think people in Loudonville are watching right now because the power's still out. Second half.
Let there be lights.
Lights go out, all except for the lights on the field. Everybody has a conversation. Athletic Director Tyler Bates talks to the refs, said, well, we can still see. We'll still play. So I do want to shout out OH Report Nation, Brian. We had over 100 watching while my computer was still alive. It died, so I'm like, okay, we'll finish things off on my cell phone, on my iPhone 8, my rotary phone. Had 222 people watching the end of this game, including our own Garrett Parlett. So shout out to all you guys for sticking with us. We appreciate you. And just for this, we're going to give you a little theatrics. My computer, because the power went out, kind of a surge. I don't have footage right now. So, enter stage left, Garrett and Storm. Garrett is going to represent the Loudonville Redbirds. Storm trying to wear that jersey. That is actually KMAC Plus's jersey. Yeah, it's small, but still, it fits you. So I'm going to go over how the game went on, Brian, and these guys are going to act it out. They do not know what's going. It's like, whose line is it anyway?
I don't even really know how this thing played out. This should be good.
All right, so Loudonville gets the ball, first possession. They drive down in the field goal range. 45-yarders blocked. Mount Gilead takes over. They don't do anything. Loudonville drives right back down. Quarterback Matt Sprang will hit Baylor Weiser out of the backfield for 12 yards and a touchdown. It is 6-0 Loudonville. After another 3 and out, that's the end of the first quarter. Switch sides. Thank you. Second possession for Loudonville. First one in the second quarter. They drive down again, and it was like deja vu, but on the other side because Sprang will find Weiser again out of the backfield for a touchdown catch. It is 13-0. Mount Gilead now trying to answer. They hit a big pass downfield to Owen High, down to the 15, but the drive will stall. They turn it over on downs with just over 2 minutes left in the half. You think Loudonville's just going to try and get into field goal range for Aiden Nybert, the kicker. In pregame, he was kicking it from 45 yards out, and also the kid had a solo on the trumpet playing You Got a Friend in Me at halftime. The kid can do it all. Want to give the kid a shout out. He can do it all. They wanted to get him into the field goal range, but instead, Matt Sprang is going to find Dylan Wade on an out, and then he takes it to pay dirt, 50 yards. Woo! It is 19-0 at the break. That's when we saw Mr. Kicker Aiden Nybert playing on the trumpet. Go ahead, G. Play the trumpet.
I don't
Represent it. The kicker was playing the trumpet. There we go. Great job by both bands as well. You can see that in the replay. This was before the wackiness happened. Second half action now. Mount Gilead gets the kick. They drive it to midfield. Big pass down the sideline from quarterback Cole Fricky. Underthrows the receiver. Receiver tries to come back. The defender runs into him, not looking at the ball, but the referees call offensive pass interference, setting up 3rd and 25. And what does Fricky do? He goes right back to Logan High for 70 yards and a touchdown. That made it 19-6. Right after they celebrated, missed the 2-point conversion, the lights go out. The lights go out here. As you can see, mayhem. We're freaking out up in the press box. We're on our power, our excess power. We go back, we get on another hot spot, and guess what? We're right back at you. After about a 15-minute delay, these guys take the field because luckily there's just enough light to be able to play this one. Loudonville goes 3 and out. It kind of put the lights out on the Loudonville offense. Mount Gilead comes right back at you. Cole Fricky from 15 yards out scores. He then scores again to give them a 20-19 lead. After another 3 and out, Mount Gilead at midfield, but they fumble the ball. They muff it down there. Loudonville answers right back at you. Matt Sprang with a taste of Fricky's own medicine scores 27-20. That is your final. And I just had to keep going on and on, Brian, because I had to see if they could keep doing it. But yeah, there's your final. Loudonville pulls out the game of the night that you are unable to see right now.
Talk about MG versus MSG. That was the real battle going on over here. But great job, guys. Love seeing that. And that's probably more of a fun depiction than the actual moving pictures.
Pretty much.
The highlights. So, all right. Thanks a lot, Trav. We'll have you back here in just a couple of minutes. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial timeout. When we return here on the Friday Night Pigskin, we've got your top play and phenom winner from week number 3. And then we've got a coach of a 4-0 team on the hotline right now. We'll bring him on right after this.
Clear? Okay. I'm sorry, I had to keep, it was just so much fun with them out there.
Well, Jardy can actually fit in it probably. It wouldn't be as fun.
He got lit up. It was the big hit. I don't know, it was kind of choppy at the point, but Sprang was going out the right side, and he got lit the F up on a block.
Oh. Can we reconnect?
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
Peace out, gentlemen.
Peace. That was fun. That was fun.
in with us. Lots of kookiness going down, not just at the Loudonville Mount Gilead game, but right here in OH Report Studios. So hopefully you're still here with us. So we put a lot on you every single week. We pick out some awesome plays, the best that we had from the entire week that was, as well as the top individual performances. And we allow you, the people of North Central Ohio, and the entire planet for that matter, to respond and let us know who was the best of the best. So here are your Week 3 winners. We'll begin with your Friday Night Phenom. So from last Friday night, lots of killer individual performances, as I mentioned, but the Danville Blue Devils' Cole DeLauder was the one that you picked that had the best performance of the night. This kid not only had a rushing touchdown and a $171 on the ground, he also had a killer jump pass went for a score as well. So Cole DeLauder is your winner for Week 3. The K-Mac seems to always come through when the votes are live. And now for your top play of the week. We don't have to travel too far away for this one. Let's show you what it was. Week 3 top play of the week is from that exact same game. Danville playing at home. The center snaps it. Nobody's paying attention except for Blake Colopy, who goes half a hundy for the scoop and the score. That was the best play of the week, according to you, the fans. Danville with a clean sweep for week number 3 for both your Phenom and your top play. And speaking of clean sweeps in the Danville Blue Devils, how about a 4-0 start for this program? They are rocking and rolling out of the gate so far, and we've got their head coach, Matt Bloom, hanging out with us now. So let's go ahead and bring in Coach and tell me, after a big victory tonight, 40-0 over Fredericktown in your K-Mac opener, how did you unwind when you got home? What were some of the first things that you liked to do, Coach?
Well, I was able to get some food with a couple of my coaches, get some pizza, and just hang out, relax, talk about the game.
Favorite topping for your pie? What'd you go with tonight?
Pepperoni and bacon.
Can never go wrong with that combo on anything, maybe even cereal and ice cream. I think that you could fully load it up. So let's talk about this 4-0 start now, Coach. You've been getting it done on both sides of the football. A shutout tonight. You put up more than 40 points. What have you been more impressed with? The offensive side of things, or how well your defensive unit's playing?
I think that's kind of hard to pick from. I think both sides of the ball have been doing a really nice job. Tonight our defense was really impressive. Had 5 interceptions, 2 taken back for a touchdown. But really just glad how fast of a start we've gotten off in each of our games, because in the past that's something we've struggled with. So being able to change that now and get a good start to our season off, and so we're excited about that.
We showed the top play of the week. It's a scoop and score, a defensive touchdown. You have 2 tonight. So, you guys are really partying out there on the defensive side of things. How much of an impact does that make when you can turn a big defensive play into some points?
Yeah, it really means everything, because when we're able to put some points on the board, it kind of relieves the stress that we have offensively and even on special teams. For example, tonight we were able to get a pick 6, and the very next kickoff we go for an onside, we recover, we score, and now you're up 27-0 when beforehand it was only 13-0. So it allows us to be flexible in our game planning, and our kids are just doing a really good job right now executing.
Do you feel like this was the expectation heading into the year? Yeah, you're always going to talk to the kids and say, hey, we want to win the league. We want to come out and do this and that. But did you guys feel like you had the horses in the barn that you could release them and get off to this magnificent start that you've had?
Yeah, I really do. We had a lot of returning starters from last year's team, a lot of offensive linemen, a lot of skill guys offensively, quarterback coming back, and a lot of good pieces defensively. And, our guys have really just worked hard for the last 6 months. Our mantra, our slogan was unfinished business. And, our kids really bought into that. And, they're starting to see some of that hard work in the offseason pay off at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, you guys were this close to a state Final Four berth last year. I mean, a game that really came down to the wire. Would you say that was really kind of the fuel that ignited you guys working hard in the offseason and now kind of getting into the season where that's what you've been thinking about and what's been motivating you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all what our unfinished business slogan's about. It's really hard walking off the field in that game when you're 4th and 13 away from going to the Final Four. And, our kids have really bought into that. I know it hurt for them. It hurt for me. It hurt for our staff. But, our kids didn't feel sorry for themselves, and they've really worked hard all offseason. And now we put ourselves in a good spot to start this year. And I'm just really happy to be in that spot.
Our Friday night phenom from just last week, Cole DeLauder. I mean, what an addition to your team. You had to go head-to-head with that guy the last few years over at East Knox. What has he brought to the equation, being a senior and just being the running style that he has that's helped improve your squad?
Yeah, great kid, works hard, fits right in, gets along great with our kids. He's a downhill runner. He's physical at the point of attack. So he fits exactly what we want to do on offense. Our offense is dependent on a physical ground game, and we take some vertical shots off of it. So he's able to do that end, and then he's a heck of a linebacker on defense as well. So he's a really good two-way starter for us, and he's a heck of a kid too.
You guys return home next week. You're going to be taking on Northmore. Do you feel like the Golden Knights might be the top contender for the crown in the KMAC along with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty early. We're through week 1 of KMAC play, but obviously I know Northmore's a really good team, and they're very similar to us. They have a lot of kids coming back from last year. I knew coming into this year they'd be very talented. They have a lot of good skill kids, really good quarterback, and they're really well coached. Their head coach does a really nice job in that program. So it's obviously going to be a heck of a matchup, but we just take it week by week, and, we're going to do our best to put a game plan together to have success next Friday night.
All right, Coach, before we cut you loose, Friday night, you get home from the game. It's past midnight now. Typically, how long are you still awake? What are you thinking about? What are you doing? Because I know the juices are still flowing for me, and I'm just watching the games out there.
Yeah, Friday nights are pretty long. Get home, get the film loaded, get exchanged, send it to assist, and get all that stuff done. It just depends on the Friday night. Usually around 1 and 2, and then back up by 7 a.m. to get week 5 going, so can't complain.
That's right, baby. Keep the hustle going down there. Definitely look forward to being down in Blue Devil country next week to see that head-to-head matchup with Northmore, Coach. So always appreciate the time and continue success for you, man. It looks like you guys, you're more than just a conference contender. Could be on the verge of getting back to that Final Four.
Hey, we appreciate the support.
All right, thank you. Matt Bloom of the Danville Blue Devils off to a 4-0 start. A team that's accustomed to getting off to nice starts that are competing in that same Division 7, Region 25, the Lucas Cubs, actually kind of shaky to kick off the campaign, 0-2. They got some home cooking last week, a big win. They are at home again tonight against Warrensville Heights, and Andy Jardy was there over at Bob Wine Field to take this thing in. So for the Cubs, looking to build some momentum. Andy looking for 2 in a row at home, and boy, did they get a lot of fireworks popping off tonight.
They sure did. They have looked like a completely different team these last 2 weeks. Playing in front of their home fans has been, I think, just the boost they needed after 2 tough losses to start the season, as we'll show you in the highlights here tonight. This was what we thought coming in. We didn't really know what to expect from this game. We didn't know a whole lot about Warrensville Heights coming in 0-3 on the year, Lucas at 1-2. This was a chance for the Cubbies to really make a statement here at home, and that's exactly what they did again. They get things started. Daniel Hawkinsmith, 8-yard touchdown run, makes it 7-0. Then on the next kickoff, nobody for Warrensville Heights wanted to field this kickoff, and they recover. Hawkinsmith gets on it.
Back to
2
back.
plays later, Logan Toms. I mean, you're going to hear his name a lot, and these are the reasons why. Here he goes, 24 yards. That play in particular was just doomsday for Warrensville Heights all night. They had no defense for it. That made it 14-0. Tigers finally get the ball, though, and Darnell Jones is going to make the most of it here. Nice throw here, 35 yards over the middle. Let Andre Spinks do the rest. He puts on the afterburners. That made it 14-6. The 2-point conversion was no good. After a Lucas turnover, though, Jones 7 yards out. We have got fireworks galore. It's 14-14 after 1. Second quarter, Toms again. 25 yards. This is his second touchdown. He's quick. 21-14 Cubbies. Tigers driving now. But Grayson Jackson, as you called it, a quarterback on quarterback crime, a pick six the other way, 28-14. That was pretty much the play that decided this game. It felt like that's where the momentum clearly shifted. Third quarter, Logan Toms, they're going to run out of hats in Lucas with all the hat tricks he's piling up this year. 35-14. And then before the end of the third quarter, he wanted another one. His 4th touchdown of the game. He finished with 200 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. A dominant effort from the Cubs. Again, after a struggle to start the season, they seem to be firing on all cylinders here going into week 5.
Yeah, I was there with you, Andy. I mean, this was the Logan Tom show. We have a whole compilation that we're about to show you. I mean, that's a lot of tutties right there that were on the highlight. But this dude, he was all over the field, offense, defense. I think he even gets in on special teams. He just seems like a special player. We talked to him after the game. He's a coach's kid. What more could you possibly want from your senior leader? He does it all. I'm
just worried after he's done, he's going to come take one of our jobs because he did the post-game interview tonight, too, interviewing his buddy, and it was a great interview. So, yeah, I think we got to be worried about that as well, too. But, yeah, he is all over the field, excuse me, did a little bit of everything with those 4 touchdowns. I think we've got some highlights of him, too, that we can show you that he was all over the field tonight, and he's got big runs. That play they ran, it's this one right here. Those, like, double handoffs in the backfield, there was just no stopping it tonight for Warrensville Heights. But I don't know what more you can say about this kid, Brian, because he had 200 yards rushing tonight. I think he had 163 last week or something like that. 7 touchdowns the last 2 weeks now. Right. It's just been a dominant performance. You're going to see his 4 touchdowns here, and wait till you see the interception that he ends up pulling out here tonight, too, because quite the athletic play, and you asked him post-game, which one do you prefer, the interception or the touchdowns? And he initially said the interception, but then whichever helps the team more is the play that he is looking for. So a great game from Logan Toms tonight. 4 touchdowns and the interception. So,
yeah, the fact that the best offensive player for Lucas said, I really enjoy the defensive side of things. That's what he gets the most pleasure out of, being out there with his guys. I think that's really telling. And why Lucas, they're going like this right now, Andy. If you want to buy stock in the Cubs, hopefully you got it after week 2 when they were down here at 0-2. But we all knew, we talked about it after the week 1 loss at Clear Fork. There was a lot to like about this team. There was a lot to like, and they just needed to get a win. They had those 2 tough losses, and then Smithville last week goes up 7-0. They reel off 41 unanswered points. Tonight, they get up to 14-0 lead. It's tied after 1. Felt like Warrensville Heights maybe had something going, and then they reeled off, 28 unanswered points, something like that tonight. So just an incredible performance from Lucas. And they're not going to be home now until October. Their next 3 games are on the road. So this will be an interesting middle portion of the schedule here for them. And then they come home closing out with 3 straight games to end the season. That's just the kind of schedule you want as you're getting into postseason play. Yeah, I tend to agree. So they're going to be at Crestview next week, at Monroeville in a couple of weeks. A couple of tough ones for them. It'd be interesting to see how the Cubs end up getting back home and what their record is looking like, but definitely solid right now. Also, Grayson Jackson now 2 straight games has not even attempted a pass. They haven't needed him. They have not even needed to throw the ball. They had 302 yards rushing tonight. I think they had 300-plus yards on the ground last week, too. So it's just been an impressive performance from them. No question. It hasn't been quite as impressive for Clear Fork, the week 1 opponent of Lucas, who, after getting that big double overtime victory, they've dropped the last 2, and they got a tough test tonight. Andy, they were on the road over at Galleon. Let's show you how it played out between the Colts and the Tigers in some MOAC play. And how about this? Adam Van Osta, we know he's a good kicker.
Yes, we do. How
about that? Clear Fork is up 3-0, and that is where it all kind of came undone. Ugh. This is Prosser hooking up with Lincoln Tyrell to make it 7-3, 76 yards. He took that one into the zone in the second quarter. Later on in the frame, Gabe Ivey, he has big play capability every time he touches the rock. This is 80 yards to pay dirt. It's 14-3 Galleon at the half. Still very much a game, but Prosser and company, the electrifying plays just kept on coming. This is another 80-yard connection, this time Jacob Chambers, so everybody's having a good time for the TI Tigers. 21-3 Galleon midway through the third. Now at the very start of the fourth, it's Prosser to Tyrell again, this time just a shorty, only 7 yards needed, but it's 28-3. Braxton to Stuckman here, 3-yard touchdown run. makes it 35-3, and that's kind of how things would end, Andy. So Clear Fork now, after a big lifting, week 1 win, 0-3 since then. What's your take on where the Colts have gone since knocking off the Cubs in that big Richland County rivalry?
Well, even after the week 1 win over Lucas, which is crazy to think that if you were to tell me they were 1-3 this year and that one win was going to be against Lucas, I don't think I would have believed you. But the fact that they just haven't been able to really do anything on the offensive side of things. At least that's what we saw those first 2 weeks. The defense has kept them in games for the most part. Tonight seemed to be the first blowout of the season here. It's just been a real struggle for them offensively to get anything going, and I think that's been their biggest issue. There's just not a lot of confidence in the passing game right now. So I don't really know. Looking ahead at the schedule, Brian, I don't know where it gets better for them either, because they host Ontario next week, who's undefeated. Then you go to Pleasant, who's 3-1, Marion Harding 1-3, and then at Shelby 3-1, Highland 3-1, and then River Valley 1-3. It's good. They're going to have to really figure something out here down the stretch if they want any chance to make the playoffs. This has just been it's a transition year with a new coach and everything. I don't know if that's playing a role into this. You would assume so, but it's just been a really difficult year for the Colts, something we're not really used to seeing.
Yeah, totally different story over on Galleon's sideline. The Fighting Matt Dicks are now 4-0
Let's
on
go.
the year.
Let's go.
They're taking on Shelby next week. That's going to be, there's a lot riding on that. Maybe the top 2 teams in terms of, well, gosh, you got to factor in Highland. Maybe the MOAC, if you start looking around the tippy top and even the middle, this could be the most exciting conference that we have from top to bottom in the entire area, Andy.
Yeah, it's definitely up there, and this is the great time of the year. Us in the media, we've got our playoff rankings come out after this week. It's time to start looking at matchups, computer points, projections, and all that. These next few weeks are going to be a lot of fun, and it's crazy next week. We'll be halfway through the regular season, so races are just starting to heat up. I know we're only really into like 1 week of conference play for some of these leagues, but it sure feels like we're right in the thick of things right now.
Yeah, we'll show you all the conference standings from the 5 leagues that we cover here on the OH Report at the very end of the show. But for now, we're going to step aside, take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got more highlights on the way, plus the best of the rest, the games that we don't have video for. Give you a little bit more in depth on that when we return on the Friday Night Pigskin.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
Game action kicked off tonight, and we had one of my favorite small school rivalries that we have in the area. Centerburg was on the road at Chet Looney Stadium taking on the East Knox Bulldogs, the defending champions, going against a team that was at the bottom of the pack last year. And we've got our own K-Mac Trav here with me to kind of help break it down. I think seeing these two teams on paper coming into the season, Trav, you would think that the Trojans would have a big upper hand, but the Dogs, they've really been playing with some gutsy effort all season.
Absolutely, Brian. After even week 1, the way Centerburg was just able to run Utica off that turf at Highland, you thought, hey, despite the losses, maybe Centerburg's got something going. You got Kalen LeMaster back there. You had some good wide receivers. But then week 2, week 3, you're thinking, wait, what's going on? And the direct opposite for East Knox, they get a win. They go to Crestview. Tough loss there, but they bounce back. And now you're thinking maybe, hey, are the Bulldogs back? Let's find out.
Let's see what they did here tonight in week 4. We'll begin with the Bulldogs getting on the board. 10-yard rushing score by Blake Elliott. It's 7-zip early on in the first quarter. Bulldogs would eventually make it 14-0 midway through the second. Jax Lester hooks up with Brayson Davis. He's going to skirt his way 29 yards into the zone.
I can hear the horns now.
Everything popping off. Second quarter, though, a few minutes later, the Berg getting on the board, and that's just a bomb, baby. Jesse Rings to Mason Tursky in stride. So it's back down to a one-score game as we head into the halftime break. When we come out, it's Elliott again. Inside give, catches the edge, throws a little stiff arm, 6-yard score as he gets just inside of the pylon to make it 21-7. And then a little bit later in the third quarter, Aaron White is going to knock this thing in from 1 yard out, and you're starting to smell a little bit of a blowout on hand here at Chet Looney Stadium as it's a 3-score difference, and it wouldn't end there as Lester would call his number here to make it 35-7. The Dogs rolling at home and having a good time doing it. Yeah, a little bit of cowbell, baby. So it's tough to really get a gauge, I think, Trav, on will the real Centerburg please stand up? And is East Knox for real in terms of being not necessarily a contender in the league? Because it looks like Danville's maybe a head and shoulders above everybody else. We'll find out what Northmore can bring to the equation. But what's your read on these two teams through 4 weeks?
Centerburg, you're talking about, who was it, Lucas going this way?
Yeah.
I think Centerburg's starting to go this way, the way they've been playing. East Knox, the direct opposite. Centerburg beats Utica
They've
week
been more
1.
like,
yeah, kind of like that. Centerburg beats Utica week 1. Week 3, Utica rolls Loudonville. You think the way that's played, East Knox beats Centerburg. They have a chance against Loudon. I don't know. Just the way teams are matched up, but what they were able to do to contain LeMaster and company, they had to go to the air. They got a touchdown out of that. But then you start to see, hey, that run game might be coming back for East Knox.
Sure.
You know, if they can establish that run game, get Lester throwing the ball a little bit more. East Knox, hey, they might be fighting for maybe 3rd or 4th place in the conference. I still think Northmore and Danville have those high-powered offenses, have a lot returning on defense, that they're the front two. But, hey, who knows? It's the K-Mac. But then East Knox might be fighting for maybe a 3rd place, a 4th place spot. And after what we saw them last year, that would be a great jump, maybe even a double-digit seed in the playoffs. They're fighting. You get some wins in the K-Mac against those other lower teams, especially with your non-conference. East Knox right in there in the playoff race.
Yeah, and to think that they lost Cole DeLauder, the kid that they thought for sure they'd be able to rely on in his senior year, it's been pretty cool to see what the Bulldogs have been able to do. And one quick note, kind of outside of the world of sports, even though it's kind of involved.
Yes.
A Centerburg cheerleader was carted off of the field tonight, so we just want to send out some love here from the OH Report to you wherever you are. Hopefully you get healthy and back on the sideline cheering where you belong. All right, let's bring in Madeline Zazzuto now. She was at arguably the biggest game of the night on paper, 3-0 versus 3-0 in a WCAL battle. Madeline in Hillsdale versus Norwayne. We thought we were going to get a good one.
Yeah, I thought it would be a way closer game, but you'll see what happens. Let's roll into the highlights. We're starting off with QB number 2, Jack Fickus, rolls out to his right, but Lucas Dute's spidey senses are tingling as he tracks down the ball. He takes it 69 yards the other way to jump ahead 7-0. This was in like the first few minutes of the game. Hard start for Hillsdale, and it happens again. Jack Fickus obviously did not see this Bobcat on the prowl as Dylan Smith plucks this pass out of the sky and returns it to pay dirt. He rushed 61 yards on this one. It just happened twice in a row. This was another within 2 minutes of the last interception. And now Fickus now backed up at the goal line. He gets drilled as he lets it fly to go ball to Hayden McFadden. He would put the Falcons on the board 7-21 in the second quarter, I believe. Now flash forward, Norwin play action pass for a 35-yard pitch and catch to Mason Sowell, turning to the score 28-7, and Hillsdale back on offense. 2-minute drill. Hayden McFadden again on the receiving end of this gift wrapped by Fickus. A little toe drag swag to make it 28-14 in the final score as the Bobcats would cruise to victory on this Dylan Morlock 5-yard scamper to the zone to bring us to our final score of 42-14.
Well, as the moving pictures just showed there, Jack Fickus back-to-back pick sixes in the game. Do you feel like that kind of like buried them early and it was tough for them to get out from under that dirt?
Yeah, it was so shocking. I did not expect that to happen. Like when it happened at first, I was like, okay, it's just like an early mistake, you know, the game's so early. But then once that happened, I did notice like the energy from Hillsdale was just off like from the get-go. So I don't know if it was just like a bad night or what, but it was really shocking, honestly, from my perspective.
Yeah, two undefeated teams getting together to clash. I imagine you were expecting a bit more competitive game than what the final score would show.
Definitely. I mean, when they were coming back, I believe the score got up to like 28-14 or something like that. And I thought maybe Hillsdale has a chance, but then they just did not. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the Falcons go from here. Norwayne, I think, expected to be near the top of the conference along with Downton, so maybe a tough road ahead here for the Hillsdale Falcons.
Definitely.
Thank you, Madeline. All right, we've got one more highlight to show you guys tonight. We will take you out to one of the most beautiful stadiums that we have in the area, that being NIST Stadium for Ontario. 3-0 last year. They were 3-0 again this year. Could they become 4-0 for the first time since 2011 when Scott Krieger was the head coach? Let's show you. So here they come. They're running up. They're ready for some big-time action at home. And that's Chase Studer. He gets loose. This is a dude that I think you're going to see a lot more from this season. But Bogpen Miller, who's been the MVP on the OH report already a couple of times this season, zips one over the middle. That made it 7-zip early on in favor of Ontario, and then they would bruise their way in to make it 14-zip a little bit later. Now here's Bogpen getting under center, and he's diving in. The route was on early in this one. It was 35-0 at the end of the first quarter. This would end up having 77 total points. The Warriors coming out on top, 56-21. Well, welcome Big League back into the show now, and for Ontario, this was a team that when we saw on the 7-on-7s what they were able to do against some tough competition, there was a little bit of chatter about maybe this is a team that potentially is on the rise like this. And 4-0 start, really awesome to see what's become of their head coach, Aaron Eckert, now in his second season, keeping the ball rolling in the right direction. Warriors are for real, buddy.
Absolutely, yeah. Even the the tug of war competition that they had at their 7-on-7. They've made it to the semifinal against some really big squads that they bring in there. So they had high hopes, especially how they finished the season. They had that big win at Shelby in Week 10 to get them into the playoffs. They faced a very, very good team in the playoffs, but that was some momentum coming into the season. They had a lot of players back, Bogpen Miller especially. And how about those the jersey combinations? I like that. Got the yellow with the blue pants. It's looking like another team that I root for, but we're not going to go there tonight. But Ontario, like you said in this conference, you have Ontario, you have Shelby, you have Pleasant who knocked off Highland tonight. You have Highland. A ton of good teams here that it's anybody's still, but Ontario, one of those teams that have a good chance to maybe win a conference championship this year.
Yeah, speaking of the MOAC conference championship race here, we got the standings here for the MOAC? Let's show those to you, and I think you're right. It's very top-heavy, but the top is heavy. It goes on for a few different teams, so I think the Warriors potentially could be some real contenders, Trav. The Galleon Tigers are still 4-0 on the season.
Absolutely.
Shelby's a solid team. Highland suffered their first loss tonight. So there's a lot of teams. I think you could reasonably say that 5 of them got a shot at this thing.
Absolutely. And speaking of Galleon, you were on the road, but during the Coach's Corner, every Friday morning, they are, well, one of the moms makes them drink a cup of pickle juice to help prevent cramping.
Yeah.
It's got to be the juice.
Oh, it
Galleon's
works.
got the pickle juice, and it's helping out right there. That's another team that had a big win tonight, but the Galleon Tigers got the pickle juice, and it's helped them out to 4-0. But you're right. There's 4 teams 1-0. Pleasant, really big win, statement win tonight. And then Highland as well, who they still control their destiny if they run through everybody else. But this is going to come down to the last few weeks, and it's going to be fun watching this conference.
Speaking of Tiger Juice, let's show you the OCC conference standings because Mansfield Senior knocked off the 2-time defending champs tonight in West Holmes at home, and they're right at the top of the heap right now after suffering a couple of non-conference losses. But New Philly, the newcomers into the league, Trav, sitting on top at 2-0 right now.
Yeah, it was kind of like a play-in playoff. You got Mansfield Senior West Holmes, then Mansfield Senior New Philly. The winner of that New Philly Mansfield Senior game is probably going to have that front runner for the championship. But hey, Worcester's still hanging out there. It's a little bit less than the MOAC. You probably have 3 or 4 teams here, but Mansfield Senior checked one of them off the list tonight in beating West Holmes. They are one of the front runners. Now they got to face New Philly.
Let's now check in on the Firelands Conference and see what's going on over there. Western Reserve. I don't know that I heard a lot of people talking about this team preseason, Travis. Monroeville coming off of a winless campaign as well. So to see those 2 teams sitting firmly on top and Norwalk St. Paul finally picking up their first dub of the season, though it coming in conference play, this thing seems, it's very interesting. It's kind of like in reverse of where it's been the last couple of seasons, seeing the Cougars at the bottom.
Absolutely, and I mentioned Western Reserve on Best of the Rest last week. Colin Klein with a huge week 2 rushing performance, and then Monroeville, Benfer, 2 great quarterbacks. They meet in Monroeville in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a big matchup. That might be for the conference championship, but hey, you can't count out the St. Paul Flyers. Crestview, they put up numbers against Monroeville, fell late, but they are still in the race as well. It's wide open, but Western Reserve, Monroeville, I think, are the front runners, and then there's St. Paul and Crestview.
Into the Northern 10 we'll go now and take a look at Colonel Crawford, the lone undefeated. And matter of fact, everybody else with 2 losses overall. But you see the Cary Blue Devils, they're lurking there. I think they're a dangerous team. Seneca East, they have some firepower on offense. Mohawk has some stud athletes. So this one, while it may appear early on in the season that it could be the Eagles for the taking, I certainly think that you can't discount the next 3, the 4 top teams in there, Travis. I think each got a shot. They'll just have to kind of determine what happens in the head-to-heads.
I think it's down to Colonel Crawford and Cary again. Cary rights the ship after 2 tough non-conference losses, but I think it's above and beyond. It's just Crawford, Cary, then the rest. I've seen Mohawk play. You know, they got a win tonight over. I believe that was Buckeye Central that they knocked off tonight in convincing fashion. Seneca East in a shootout with Upper Sandusky, but this is Colonel Crawford, Cary. That matchup once again going to be for the conference.
And on to the KMAC. I think that it's going to be Danville's for the taking. They have proven now through 4 weeks. They've gone against a couple of tough competitors, but Northmore is the team that they battle next week. I mean, this thing could be signed, sealed, delivered through just 5 weeks of the season, Trav.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skoronsky, for scheduling me and Ken Parrott on that game.
So welcome.
We have been looking forward to that for a couple weeks. But yeah, next week is, put it down right now, it's probably the de facto KMAC championship.
Look it.
I saw Loudonville play. They scrapped out a win. Mount Gilead scrappy. East Knox 1-0. But I think it's Northmore and Danville, kind of like the Crawford and Cary. I'll talk a little bit more about Northmore and the best of the rest. But next week, that's going to be for it all.
Let's get on to that best of the rest and break down the Golden Knights and what they were able to do tonight.
44-6 over Cardington. A.J. Bauer, only 10 thrown passes, 7-10, 155, 3 touchdowns. Paul Kramer, 8 carries, 41 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And like we just said, 3-1. They had that tough loss. They actually had a chance to tie Mapleton last week, but interception in the end zone on 4th down, couldn't get it done, so they're 3-1, but still a very lethal squad, just like Coach Bloom said. Them and Danville, that's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a shootout. That's like a 40-33 or a 50, it's kind of like what we saw with Hillsdale in that playoff game. That's going to be quite the game to see next week, but that's what it sets up. Now to that Pleasant Highland game.
Yeah.
Dane Nauman, He got his 22 carries, 103 yards, but Pleasant kept him out of the end zone. Owen Lowry, though, the quarterback for Pleasant, he went in the end zone 4 times, 29 carries, 119 yards, puts Pleasant on that MOAC map. Talked about Seneca East and Upper Sandusky, 46-44.
Wow.
Blake Foose, a 16-yard touchdown pass with 3:17 remaining. And the biggest stat of the night, Shelby Harding game, 45-14. Braden DeVito, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, including a 99-yard run. He had over 200 yards rushing in the game. Shelby looking like that front runner, but like we said, there's so many other teams there. But, man, when you got a guy like DeVito, you can't beat him.
Well, one team did last week.
That's
but other
true.
than that,
But Bellevue, yeah, and the MOAC maybe.
that's what we got for the best of the rest?
Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to mention, too, the best 2-2 team in Division 7 is now the Lucas Cubs. I'm going to continue
Yeah, I
saying
think
that
they'll
after
keep
0-2
climbing
start.
that ladder.
Keep climbing that ladder. Yeah, Galleon got the pickle juice, and there's a log jam at the MOAC. I think that's all I had. Power's not going out on me right now, so we're good.
Yeah, before the power goes out on here, I think we got everything in. So go ahead and shut it down for week 4 of the Friday Night Pigskin, but still a long way to go on the season. We'll be with you for the playoffs as well, but things are really starting to heat up. Enjoy your Saturday.
NFL Week 1, baby!
Woo! There's a lot to like about this weekend. Enjoy it, guys. So long for now.